Once upon a time, in a land far, far away, there lived a monster. It had the name Nessie, and people from across the world would travel for miles to snap one photo to prove that they really saw it. Some thought it was plant debris, a reflection in the water, a anaconda, a ocean sunfish, a dinosaur, or even a swimming elephant from a visiting circus. No one has managed to solve the mystery so far. But for now, scientists have finally solved the Loch Ness Monster mystery. Here is the spoiler for you if you are ready. It is not a real monster, it is probably a dinosaur that survived through the ages or just a bunch of debris floating on the water. Before start our video, if you don't subscribe to my channel, just subscribe. Okay, let us go to our video. But first, thanks to many findings on the Loch Ness Monster creature, we have proof of another story to tell you. It was 1933 when a man named George Spicer and his wife were driving along the shores of Loch Ness. That's when they saw something massive with a long neck moving across the road, looking like a creature straight out of the prehistoric era. A dinosaur-like beast unlike anything they'd ever seen. That was the moment the Loch Ness Monster theories started spreading around like wildfires. One of the most famous Loch Ness Monster sightings came just a year later in 1934 when a man took a photograph that became the most well-known image of the Nessie nickname she was given. The photo known as the surgeon's photograph showed a long necked creature rising out of the water, and for years it convinced the people that the monster was real. But years later, the truth came out. One of the men who helped take the photo confessed it was all a hoax. The photo had been staged. After all, when the photo was published, it had been significantly cropped. This made the animal in the picture look much bigger than in real life, fueling the theories that the Loch Ness Monster did in fact exist. In the 1960s, one of the first scientific attempts to investigate the mystery of the Loch Ness Monster happened. A research team took sonar equipment to the lake and spent hours of scanning the waters in search of evidence of a large creatures. What they found was puzzling. They recorded seven objects moving deep in the loch or lake with no clear explanation as to what it was. Though the team didn't manage to capture anything definitive, these sightings helped fuel the belief that there was indeed something massive living in Loch Ness. After the research about the mystery of Loch Ness Monster kept popping up in 1972 with the help of underwater photography, some researchers managed to capture strange images which caught people's hopes up for a minute. But the truth is, this early research about the Loch Ness Monster was far from conclusive. Now, of course, not everyone brought into the mystical, magical theories about the Loch Ness Monster. Theory number one from a professor of geology at Oxford University has made it clear that the monster is a biological impossibility. Meanwhile, he says that no skeleton remains have ever been found in the region, plus no fishermen have ever caught anything resembling the creature in their fishing nets. For him, this works as proof that it simply can't be real. When it comes to the famous photos of the Loch Ness Monster as evidence, well, that's pretty simple. The professor offers a more down-to-earth explanation. He argues that these images are either showing floating debris or birds like coronas which have long necks and often appearing to be low in the water. When people refute his suggestions, he takes us back to human psychology and explains that people often make mistakes and misjudge the size of things, especially when they just got a glimpse of it, and even more so when they are hoping to see something specific. Now, many of those alleged photos portrayed an animal with a long neck and a small head, which has led some to believe that when they are seeing is a plecosa, a giant marine reptile that lived 250 million years ago and disappeared with a dinosaur. The idea of a PCS surveying all these years is a theory that's been around since the first sightings of the creature. But this researcher isn't buying, isn't it? He explains that no previous fossils have been found in the region dating to anything later than 66 million years ago. The idea of the prehistoric creature still looking in the water of Loch Ness just doesn't hold up scientifically. Then there is a theory number two from a British naturalist who has spent over 15 years investigating the Loch Ness Monster phenomena. His conclusion is a little less dramatic. He believes that most people who report sightings of a long necked creatures are misidentifying other animals. He suggests that people think they are seeing a sea serpent. Reports of sightings from the Loch Ness Monster have been around since the 6th century CE, long before they were distilling Scotch whiskey or other explanations. Early reports of these serpents describe large creatures with long snake-like bodies and multiple arms. Some says the creature were as big as boats, and many swore they saw something swimming in the waters. Many of these early sea serpent sightings may have been misunderstandings or enhancement of normal animals in the loch, like large fish or even swimming birds. There could have been large eels which are known to live in the Loch Ness. These eels, especially when they are moving, might have given the impression of a long, enduring creatures in the water. People who saw these eels from a distance, particularly in the lowlands or cloudy conditions, might have mistaken them for something much more mysterious. Theory number 3 says something else. Nessie is just a series of standing waves. This happened when two board waves move in opposite directions, creating a big hump in the water that could look like a creature from a distance. Loch Ness enthusiasts even showed how it works with footage from Fort Augustus, where a river meets Loch Ness. These enthusiasts had big plans to use drones with infrared cameras and special underwater microphones to search the loch now. Loch Ness is massive, stretching around 23 meters long and more than 700 feet deep, so they thought they needed drones and infrared cameras to put it on an end to this discussion. But despite everything, they have not found Nessie. But it is not only the Loch Ness Monster that lacks scientific explanation. There have also been scores of sightings of ETs and sad squatches that no one can really explain. Folks have made movies dreaming of finding the truth about these creatures, but according to recent research and evidence, it looks unlikely that we ever find definitive evidence of the accident. Science says that can explain squash sightings, and this is how biologists who study wildlife using camera traps, which are set up in remote areas to capture images of passing animals, have long attempted to find rare species. These cameras detected movements and snap pictures, providing invaluable data on the biodiversity of different ecosystems. As camera traps collect more photos over time, the number of species recorded grows. However, after a while, the number plateaus, suggesting that no new species are being detected. While it is impossible to claim 100% confidence, researchers says that after significant camera deployment, it's safe to say the likelihood of discovering new species, especially large ones like Bigfoot or the Eddie, dropped significantly. Camera drop studies have been running for years in regions where these creatures are rumored to live, but so far, conclusive evidence has surfaced. Instead, the supposed proof of Bigfoot or the Eddie often comes from blurry photos or shaky videos taken by individuals who claim to have encountered them. The scientific understanding of biology also makes the existence of Bigfoot is highly unlikely, often described as a great ape. Bigfoot would have had to evolve in North America. However, great apes evolved in Africa, and the only great ape to make it to the American is Homo sapiens, whose ancestor crossed the Bering Strait only about 60,000 years ago. This This is far too short a time for a new species like Bigfoot to have evolved. While it may be disappointing for these mysterious creatures, in the East, the scientific evidence points firmly toward the conclusion that creatures like Bigfoot and the Yeti are more fantasy than reality. After decades of extensive scientific research, it's safe to say that yes, science has solved the mystery of Loch Ness Monster and it's pure fiction. So, what do you think? That is for today. If you like this video, just subscribe, like, share. Bye everyone.